Hey, Geekscape, I got my good friend Kim Coates on the show. He's talking about his brand new film, Neon Lights. It's available right now on VOD. So let's talk to Kim about it. Kim, how are you, man?
What's going on there, sailor? I mean, if I don't have one technical difficulty in my day per day, then it's not a good day in my life, bro.
You're not pushing hard enough.
I'm just not pushing hard enough.
Like,
No, like I've been up since 6 a.m. I'm not complaining, but I've been up since 6 a.m. with interview after interview after interview, and most of it's been on Zoom. And of course, you're special, Jonathan. You've got this wacky whatever thing you're on Google Chrome, whatever. Look at me, I'm figuring it all out. You can hear me all right, right?
yeah, I can hear you great.
Yay!
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, if we're really in like a simulation, and let's just go there. If we're
Let's
in a
just go
simulation,
there. Yeah.
and it kind of refers to the idea of this film, Neon Lights, and in what is reality, what is not reality, with no spoilers, kids. You are just doing your part in pushing on the simulation. Like, this whole technical difficulty thing is just you pushing against that fabric of like, all right, let's try and break it.
Sure.
I don't know what
That's
happens.
cool. No, that's fine. I can pay you 10%, Jonathan, if you want to help me out for the rest of my life when it comes to technical difficulties, because you certainly sound like you know what you're talking about.
Enough mess ups, and you finally find the path you're supposed to take. I think that's like that's life, though.
It's all good, man. It's all good. So have you seen the trailer? Have you seen the movie yet? I know.
I saw this movie, Neon Lights,
Okay, good.
and I don't want to spoil it for the Geekscapists, but y'all have like a horror trailer for Neon Lights. So when you watch this thing, you're gonna see like the dragging of an axe. You're gonna see some horror imagery. I got to tell you,
Yeah.
Geekscapists, don't just go in thinking it's a horror movie. So if you're a horror fan, this might appeal to you too, because ultimately it is a movie about like unresolved trauma. I think in a larger sense, when you think about it that way, I think this is a movie that's
It
broader
is.
than
No,
horror.
that's no, I think that's very true. I think, me and Dana Abraham and Rusbe Hadari, the director, we talked about this, and Brenna Coates, my daughter, who's also starring in this thing. Before we did all the press, we said, what do we say this movie is? Like what how do you put it in one sentence or not? And we all came up with, you know what, it is a psychological thriller slash horror slash mental health recipe of a good movie. I mean, this thing is, when I read this script, Jonathan, it took me two or three reads to really convince myself. I pretended to know what it was about. I pretended to know how to play this guy. Like, I didn't have a clue. And when I talked to Rusbe and I talked to Dana, because the writing was so fascinating to me in a way, I'd never played a guy like this before. Denver Kane, he needs to be charming, charismatic, methodical, evil, beautiful, caring, not caring. And you've seen the film. I mean, I really can't talk a lot about Denver Kane, but what I can say is he's woven throughout the entire script. He's there when he's supposed to be. He's not there when he's not supposed to be, and it's scary as shit. And it's an incredible mental roller coaster ride that people are not going to soon forget.
What's scary about it to you? Because I think that the movie that I saw last night was my first read, right? And I'm
Yeah.
watching it and I'm like, what's this about? And I can understand why you then immediately reread it, because that last scene, and when the pieces fall in place, you want to go back and see how those pieces were laid out and set up for you for the dominoes to fall. Um, so I get that. What was the job you had in both as a producer too, in the edit room, and and
Sure.
working with everybody, in not giving too much and trusting an audience, trusting your collaborators to say, hey, this is enough for them to pick up the clues.
Yeah, no, great question. And I want to answer that first one first. You said, what was scary about it for me?
Hmm.
And for me, what makes this movie so different and speaks to me at a different level when it comes to mental health is the trauma that Dana Clay Armani, the character he plays, the trauma that he goes through as a kid, as a young boy, and then growing up to be this successful giant tech tycoon, and then to lose it all and somehow try and struggle with his past or struggle with his siblings and try and come together as a family, and have Denver woven through this entire story the way that that the way that my character does. What I found scary about the whole thing is what it must be like for kids to have trauma, to have massive childhood, early adulthood trauma from a parent, from an uncle, from an aunt, from somebody who should give them love and doesn't, or the love is misconstrued, or whatever. And Dana Abraham, when he wrote this thing, I mean, this was a kind of a written through COVID like. Sorry, man, I don't know what the fuck happened.
Okay. You're
but here we
pushing
are.
on that matrix.
Yeah, okay, whatever
That's what
you
it
say.
is. It's pushing back a little bit. Don't sweat it, man.
All right, man. Anyway, we were talking about, this movie about trauma and the drama of trauma and what Dana wrote about during the whole COVID experience. He wanted this to be a very COVID-friendly movie. There's only 8 people in the film, as you saw. The house itself has a character itself. The whole estate is really a character all unto itself. The music's unbelievable. We shot the thing in 15 days. And he came so prepared. Ruspe came so prepared. Me and Brenna and the rest of the cast came so prepared. I just can't believe that we're getting all this press from such a sweet little film that needs to be seen and is starting today everywhere. Video on demand, it's everywhere.
And like, what would you say would be like the best case scenario of somebody watching this film, what they get out of it, what they think about? What is it?
The best case scenario for this film, for anyone who wants to watch it, is that they were along for a ride, a real mental ride. It's called Neon Lights for a reason. Brenna Coates, who plays the psychiatrist, my daughter, she can explain this better than me, but in our brains, in our craniums, there's all kinds of colors going around in the lower part of the brain. And neon lights, when Clay takes his siblings, his sister-in-law back to the home, his niece back to the home, everyone has a particular room. Everyone has a particular color of room that is meant just for them. So somewhere, and we don't know this yet as an audience probably, but when you're watching the film, you're going, well, that's kind of weird. There's pink, there's red, there's green, there's blue. Like, what does it all mean? Well, you can talk about what it all means when this movie is all over, because everyone had their own particular room because of the feelings that Clay Armani has in his head pertaining to each family member and him growing up in a certain lifestyle that was his because of his father, Denver Kane, and because of his brothers. Things didn't perhaps turn out as well as he wanted them to, but it's a hell of a ride, man. It really is. If you watch this movie, you may want to watch it more than once.
You want people to go to therapy?
Sure, therapy's great.
I think it helps. I think every Geekscaper should be in therapy.
Yeah, man, therapy's amazing. It certainly worked for me. We should all be in therapy. Absolutely.
I think what I found engaging about the film was the unreliability of the narrator, of the protagonist, and what is reality, what isn't reality. And you start that guessing game at the very beginning, especially with your character, who is jibbity cricketing him a little bit and saying, "Hey, like this is the lane, and you're going to do great." And then we kind of start wondering if that's just in his head. But ultimately, when you start interacting with other characters in the film, those lines blur, and you're like, wait. I had already decided this guy was only in his head, but now he's talking to the other characters. What is happening? And Geekscape, you just got to watch this Neon Lights movie to know what we're talking about, because otherwise you'll be a bit confused. But we like him, and we'll support him. We're definitely going to watch this movie, and he's producing this one, and his daughter's in this one, so more reasons to watch this one.
Yeah, and you remember, Jonathan, and sorry to cut you off there, but you remember back in 2020 when the world was changing because of COVID and people had to be locked in and they couldn't leave, and oh, wait a minute, we all need to be vaccinated, which we certainly did and do and shall, and hopefully you're following science and doing the right thing, and we're all trying to be kind with one another. These kinds of movies came out of that. I mean, they're very, very COVID friendly. We were tested every day. We had masks on, we had shields on. We were doing the right thing. We were trying to make movies in a world that was changing right in front of us, right?
And you didn't know the end game on it. Like, you didn't know when the release valve was going to get lifted on this.
Exactly right. So for this kind of a movie to hit such a home run and be released and have E1 distributing this thing and have such belief in it, and like you said earlier, is it really just a psychological thriller? Is there a bit of horror? Is there flashbacks? Are people real? Are they not real? Is it in his head? Is it not in his head? These are all great questions that people, when they see the movie, are going to ask themselves, and they are, and they have. I mean, we had an opening in Hamilton, Ontario, 2 weeks ago for the world premiere, and you couldn't get a seat. There were 700 people, and the reviews are coming out now, and they're mostly just amazing. And we shot the whole thing in 15 days, and we had an LA premiere on Sunday, and that was huge. And I'm talking to you, and been talking to people all day about it, so that's fucking huge. You're off the charts, son. You figured
Thank
this
you,
whole
sir.
technical thing out.
Are you going to be at Comic-Con next week?
I'm not.
Okay.
No.
We have a booth there. We could promote the movie. You could do whatever the heck you want.
Well, that's sweet. No Comic-Con for me. I've been doing press all day yesterday, all day today, and it's going to get out into the ether now. And you know, that's how people see these movies, by video on demand, and it's on Apple TV, and pretty excited for people to watch it and garner their own thoughts about it.
And anytime you're down there, let's get you at the Geekscape booth.
I love it, man.
Whatever you got.
How you doing, bro?
Meet the Geekscape.
How's the whole thing? I mean,
I just had the whole
right?
COVID. Like I had COVID like last week.
You all right? You look good.
Yeah,
I
feel good. I got up early this morning with you, and I shot some baskets, and
good for you,
getting back into the running and stuff. And this is Jockscape after a while, not just Geekscape.
No, everybody's gonna get it. Everybody's gonna get it eventually in some form. I think
so.
I hope it goes well for the people who do are still gonna get it. They think they're not, but they will eventually. And hopefully we'll just stay safe and smart and just see what the world brings, and together. How about that?
That's the thing that I think is scariest for me, is the fraying that has happened in our society. And I mean, you're now a U.S. citizen. Like, oh, you regretting that one?
Do you know, Jonathan? Honestly, I try to stay not very political, but I'm a huge liberal, man. I believe in science. I believe in doing the right things. I believe in kindness. I believe in stop yelling at one another, and everything's so violent these days, and it's just
I think those
taken
things
off
on both sides, Kim. I think that it's the extremes that are that we have to stop magnifying the extremes and thinking that those are representative of the ways to go. I think that we are actually, as humans, much more decent, much more centralist, and much more caring, and I think a lot of this is a result of not being able to give people hugs for 2 years.
Yes.
Is that too simple?
No, that's not. No, I think it's a bit simple, but I think it's also a bit true. I think that for whatever reason, these sides that are drawn now are different than they've ever been in history. When it comes to America, the whole left and the whole right thing, it's gone so crazy. You can't even have conversations anymore with people. Politics used to be something we could discuss and happily. I don't care if you're on the right or on the left. I love talking politics, but now it's gone so nuts with what people are reading and believing on the internet, and so crazy with what people think kindness means or patriotism means. It's so nuts now that I don't know if we're ever going to get it back as an American. I hope we do. I still believe we can. But it's pretty hard, bro. It's pretty hard. And that's why, me doing movies and producing movies, and going to be directing movies, and you following movies, and the stuff that you're doing such a great job at, and the Comic-Cons coming up. Most of those people are pretty caring people. They're pretty kind people. They're pretty artistic people. And we need inspirational.
I think aspirational is the way that it's like, okay, well, let's just aim a little bit more towards the positive
I couldn't agree more.
in each other, and we might be able to pull out of this. Some of the Geekscapists have some questions for you.
Sure.
Richard Sestata, he said, what is it like working with Kirk Sutter, and thoughts on his recent exit with, I guess, Mayans? Or
sure, yeah. Kurt's a buddy. Kurt's crazy. Kurt's a very, very brilliant, dark individual. You can't write the shit that he wrote or came up with without delving in some sort of darkness in your life, or darkness in what you read or have read or believe society is in that artistic, dark way. Kurt, no one did it better than him. When it came to his exit on Mayans, I had nothing to do with any of that. I don't know what went down. I can only imagine what went down, because I spent 7 years with the guy on Sons of Anarchy. But I was able to go on Mayans and be on Mayans and bring back Tig Trager, which was bizarre. Bizarre. I still had my cut, my bike, my bangles, my knife, my tats, my necklace. I mean, I had it all. And so to inhabit that guy again and do those two scenes that Elgin James did such a beautiful job writing for me, really happy I could say hi to that world again. I'm not looking forward to the future or I'm not looking for anything from the future from Mayans, but you never know. We'll see where I'm at.
Sure.
We'll see where they're at, and was really glad to go back as Tig Trager. Pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, we've got a Geekscape is named Big Yanks who loved seeing the Tig character.
Yay!
They loved it.
Yay!
Brent Davis, how much of your childhood was like the song "A Boy Named Sue"?
Pretty much nothing. I mean,
yeah. You're Canadian, like they're nice. They don't pick on people for having names.
Yeah, no, my name was Kim Coates, and I didn't even know that it was a girl's name until like grade 3 or grade 4. There was a girl finally, her name was Kimberly, and she came from another city. And I went home to my mom and dad, and I said, "Hey, what the hell's going on? There's a girl named Kimberly. Like, what happened?" And my mom goes, "When I was in grade 11, I read a book by Rudyard Kipling called Kim. And it was about a little Tarzan Indian boy, a little Indian Tarzan boy. And it was my favorite book. And I said my first kid born, girl or boy, was going to be named Kim. So that's how I got the name Kim Coates. And I guess I was tough enough to not let anyone persuade me to change my name or think there's something wrong with it. So I'm stuck with it. I'm kind of used to it now.
I don't think there was anything wrong with it. And
there you
now,
go.
Now we've got like the full gender spectrum, and you're
darn tootin'.
Like, who cares? Call us whatever you want. We're not defined by our names.
No.
He then goes on to say, "Hey, what was it like to coach the unbelievably talented Doug Glatt for the Halifax Highlanders?" We're talking about the movie Goon, of course.
Goon, yeah, come on, bro. How great was that? I mean, I was too old to play a player, but they offered me the head coach, and I would have done it for free, Jonathan. Don't tell them I said that.
Jay Baruchel and those guys that.
Do you know Jay? Have you talked to Jay? I'm sure you have.
No, he was somebody who, when I was doing,
he'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, no, I love him, and we would cross. I had a couple projects at Fox Television Studios back when it existed.
Wow.
And I think he was in there as well. And we always, the other person I always like crossed in the office, and people were like, "Oh, look who was just here," was Alex Winters from Bill and Ted, who's a great director as well.
Like,
you would love these guys. And I said, well, why don't you set up the meetings that we overlap a little bit more? So I could I don't want to work. We don't need to work together. I just want to like meet the dudes. Like,
awesome.
That's easy enough. But I like Jay a lot. But
he's great. He's really brilliant. He's smart. He's a Montreal Canadian fan. He loves hockey so much. And he wrote Goon.
And
Goon too. Yeah. Yeah. The third one I'll work for free. I'll tell him he said that.
Okay. Jim Puccarnelli says, I want to hear about The Last Boy Scout.
My first, yeah, sure. My first big Hollywood film, Jonathan. I came right off Broadway, and you know they discovered me. Marion Doherty, she's gone now. One of the great casting legends of all time. She cast me in that. The late Tony Scott, who's gone now.
Yeah,
sadly, legend, absolute legend. I'm supposed to work with him.
Did you think about him seeing the new Top Gun?
I haven't seen the new Top Gun yet, but you can't not think of him, right?
I couldn't not think of Tony Scott, and I think Joe Kosinski's incredible. I think he hasn't made a bad movie. And this movie is fantastic, but the whole time you're watching it, you're thinking of Tony Scott.
Yeah, Tony and Ridley, both as brothers. They're both kind of remarkable at their craft. Yeah, so I got to punch Bruce out. I feel sorry for Bruce right now. He's going through quite a thing now, which is really sad, and I love him to death, and I think about him all the time, and he's a pal, and just a tough cards to get dealt right now in your life. But yeah, I mean, that was an incredible time for me, and that whole scene, I guess they show that scene, Jonathan, at film class as to show young students of film how to steal a scene from a movie star. So I don't know, but Bruce always loved me in that scene, and I think I know why. I mean, we were so good together, and I'll never forget it. That was my jumping off board in Hollywood for sure.
It feels like it propelled you for a long. I mean, it's hard to return to the stage after that because I'm guessing you're getting a lot of work at that point, and it goes on to the things like the Waterworld and the Black Hawk Down and stuff like that. And I got a question here about Waterworld and what that was like on that set, because the set seemed like it was a ton of pontoons strapped together, and I mean that's a tough shoot. Remember when that movie was getting shot? Everybody was like, "This thing's like out of control."
Yeah, it was a little out of control. I think Kevin came off Dancing with Wolves, all those Oscars, and unfortunately he broke up with his wife Cindy, and paparazzi was everywhere. And we were in the big island of Hawaii for about a year. I was only there for 3 weeks. My part Thank goodness I didn't want to be stuck there all for a long time. But I had such a good time. They could have cut that 12 minutes could have been cut right out of the movie. Thank goodness it wasn't for me, just because I enjoyed playing him so much. And Costner got to show a bit of remorse, his character, trying to protect the girls when he thought about having this crazy drifter on his boat. So it was a 12-minute scene, long scene. The movie was way over budget. Didn't do well when it first came out, but it's a massive hit now. It's a cult hit now, and I'll never forget it.
Can you imagine like that show was at Universal forever? The Waterworld Spectacular. It was just forever, and now you think now I guess they just released like a director's cut of Waterworld, and people are looking at it so affectionately. They're like, this movie is a masterpiece. And what I think about is that, what was that first movie that director did? Like it was not called Wendigo. The one where they're in the car together, they do the road trip.
Kevin Reynolds. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I'm not really sure.
It was Judd Nelson, Kevin Costner, and they're young. It's like early 80s, and it's just a road trip movie. Like it's like a movie like Richard Linklater would make. And then suddenly they like the dude's doing Waterworld, and I was like, there may need to be an in-betweener somewhere in there where
I'm not sure how they made that jump, but I do know that Kevin Costner, who's a really good buddy of mine, he's super loyal, man. Mm-hmm. He's a super loyal friend. If he's your friend, he's your friend. And I know that him and Kevin have had their little separation over the last decade or so, but they trusted each other on that film, and it was too big for its time. It was too whacked. It was too hard. The logistics of shooting on the ocean, couldn't see any land. We had more tugboats out there pulling that trimaran, turning it around because the cameras could never face the island of Hawaii. Sure. And I think that they thought anything was possible. Obviously, anything is possible, but the amount of money, and when the Atom, the island, when it sunk and it destroyed some of the coral reefs there, that when the atoll sunk, that was really bad news. I mean, there's just one bad break after one bad break on that movie, and it just seemed to go on and on forever. And now that's a cult hit. It's kind of cool to talk about, but it was a tough shoot for Kevin back then.
Yeah, I mean, so when are you going to be on this this show he does in Utah? This Yellowstone.
Do I'm not sure.
When are you doing that show?
I don't know. I'll be on that one, but I can't tell you what I can't tell you what's happening, but it's not going to be that much longer before Kevin and I. That's all I can say. That's all I can say.
We're just wondering if, like, it opens on Yellowstone, things are going down, motorcycle rolls. Yeah, right. What do you think of this? A little crossover action.
No, Jonathan, listen, man.
We just see this motorcycle cutting through,
not happening.
Let's just listen. Just be patient. Let's let the fans think about this. Okay, we open on Yellowstone.
Do you have any idea how many times I was offered a biker when Sons of Anarchy was over? I said no to all of them. And
I can't do it.
I said finally yes to the Mayans because an offer I couldn't refuse. So that was cool.
But that's not how you push the simulation.
You
got to push the edges. You got to try different stuff like this Neon Lights movie. You got to try stuff, baby, because it's not going to work for some people. In Geekscape, I'll tell you that when you watch this movie, it's not at first. It's not going to work for you. Possibly. You're going to get to the ending. You're going to want to revisit those pieces, like I said. So, I mean,
good for you.
I mean, don't you think? Like it's a challenging piece of material. Is that how you would describe this?
I love. I
I want to just be like, hey, you're gonna love it. It's like a Marvel movie. It's fantastic. Like but no, I think y'all went out to design a challenging piece of material.
And that's exactly what we did. And that's exactly what I'm talking to you. No, seriously, this ain't no Spider-Man 28. This ain't no Marvel 29.
Nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm in those things. Like, are you kidding me? I love them all. But this is called Neon Lights for a reason. It's a thinker. It's a thinker's piece. And it's very Alfred Hitchcock, too. You're too young to know who that is. But
get out of here with that.
Alfred Hitchcock. He's one of my favorites, man. And
I was talking about Alfred Hitchcock today.
No shit.
Well, I understudied on Supernatural, and like the next director who was coming in to do an episode after Bobby.
Love that.
Bob Singer. I was shadowing Bob, and the next director, John Badham, who was actually Like,
That's
you know,
not
he did
bad.
War Games as well.
You bet.
He did storyboards for Hitchcock, if you didn't know
Yeah,
that.
unbelievable.
It's insane.
That's
And
what
I'm
I'm
like,
saying. It's insane.
oh man, I wish I could stay just a little longer to meet John, because I love War Games, and obviously like picking the brain of somebody who did storyboards for Hitchcock
Come on, it's great.
is like,
He must have been a baby. He must have been so young. Oh my God.
yeah, there was a picture in the office of Hitchcock and a few dudes kind of hanging around with Hitchcock.
Hanging
And
around. There you go.
one of them was John. And I don't think I've ever told that story on
Love
Geekscape.
it. I
Geekscape
love it. I love shit like
just
that,
like just like with my meetings at Fox, I always miss the people. I'm always on the plane while they come in, and I don't get to meet the person and pick their brains about stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you talk to those guys, just be like, hey, you know, come on Geekscape and talk to these nerds. I went on; it was pretty inoffensively okay to be on there with Jonathan.
Well,
he's nice enough.
I can't wait to talk to you after. Like, we need to talk about Neon Lights like 2 months from now. I need to come back on so we can. You can tell me what some of your peeps said and what they're saying and what they thought of the film and what they thought it means and all that stuff, because it's a thinker's movie for sure.
Yeah, we like those around here. You know, we still talk the Marvel stuff and then this
Please.
and then that, but we are going to. We also like those people. You know, we like people to think about the stuff that they're.
Hey man,
bringing in.
Absolute pleasure, bro. Thanks for having me, man.
Well, Geekscape is the movie is called Neon Lights. It's out right now on the VOD, on the what else?
Apple TV, everywhere else. Yeah, you bet. All on video on demand. You bet.
Okay, and you're not just going to get Kim; you're also going to get
Brenna, my daughter. Yeah,
who's really good in it. She's fantastic.
Right on, man.
Dude, next project we're going to be talking. All right.
Can't wait.
Thanks so much, Kim.
See you, bro. Take care. Bye, Jonathan.
Bye, brother.
Love you, man.
You too.
Beautiful.